All right, here we are on the Inflation 2 tab, and what I'm doing here that's new is in columns D and E, I'm computing basically the residuals from an AR1 model, and that's called pre-whitening the data set. We're trying to turn it into something more like white noise based on the US inflation rate and the UK inflation rate. And then that hopefully removes the autocorrelation within each series, and then we can look for cross-correlation and have a little bit more trust in the answers we get. So what formula are we using to pre-whiten based on an AR1 model? That's actually one of the homework questions that you can tackle. And if that's not one of the homework questions you end up tackling, you can email me and we can talk about it. It might be important if you're doing a project on this kind of time series analysis. But now we can compute the new cross-correlation function between the pre-whitened US inflation rate and the pre-whitened UK inflation rate. And then we've got that graph here. The new XCF still exceeds the plus or minus 2 over square root of n formulas. At like 0, it's 0.3, where the 2 square root of 2 over square root of n is like 0.12, so it's roughly double. But it's not as strong as the original cross-correlation function was at lag 0, and then it spends most of its time between those two sort of rough significance bands. So after we properly account for the autocorrelation, we see that the cross-correlation is not nearly as big as we thought it was. The Housing Starts Unemployment 2 tab does the same basic thing. It has a graph showing the autocorrelation of just housing starts and just unemployment. That's in columns K and L. And then I pre-whitened that in columns D and E with an AR2 model. And then if we look at the cross-correlation function, the new cross-correlation function, that pretty much stays between the plus or minus 2 over square root of n bands pretty much all the time. So that's saying there actually isn't there's hardly any actual cross-correlation between them. So hopefully I've introduced you to a new tool in these videos, cross-correlation, but then taught us about the limits of the tool. And if you don't get all the pre-whitening stuff, that's okay. It's not like it'll be on the final exam, because there isn't a final exam. But if you're doing a project on it or hoping to do work on this in industry, you at least know that you need to know more about it.